Madam Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we can't hear you.
Okay, I'm turning her up right now.
Thank you.
Stand by. Okay, go ahead. Try again.
We're still not picking that up.
Stand by. Let me try one more thing. Stand by. Check, check. Can you hear this one? Carmen?
Yes, I copy that.
Let me have you just use this one for now, and then I'll get the rest of it sorted out.
Okay. We're going to start over here. I want to welcome everyone to the September 24, 2025 meeting of the Board of Oil, Gas, and Mining here in Vernal, Utah. We have all board members here in person except Patrick James, who's going to join us on a Zoom meeting. And so with that intro, I think we will turn it over to Natasha Bailiff to present in place of Mick Thomas this morning.
Hopefully this mic works. I'm Natasha Bailiff. I'm the legislative planning coordinator for the division, and today I'm giving the briefing session. The first item on the agenda is a presentation. The next item on the agenda is the proposed board hearing schedule for 2026. This one is actually being meeting. I don't have any items under other, and then for next month's agenda and division calendar, and I'm also extending it a little past October. So we do have a hearing examiner proceeding on October 15th. I don't know how many agenda items there are, but for the board meeting that is on October 22nd, there are 11 agenda items. So please get ready. Bring snacks. Bring your attention span.
Two of them are very similar.
There are 2 agenda items on the hearing examiner proceeding on October 15th. And then extending beyond October all the way to December. On December 4th, we have the OGM Employee Appreciation Report meeting. We would love for all of you to come. Last year, we had a really fun time. Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. I'm gonna have to pass my. Can you hear me, Carmen?
Yes, I'm picking up sound now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Natasha, on the September 25 version of the bonding, who else has that at this point in time besides the board?
We sent that out to all stakeholders.
All stakeholders have it as of when?
I sent it out on Friday.
Oh, okay.
Just
Okay, so just last Friday. Okay. And do we post this during this process, or we just provide it to the stakeholders?
Yeah, throughout this bonding process, this one is a little bit special for our rulemaking process.
Mhm.
All of the bonding making drafts and comments that we receive, our responses to comments are all posted on the website. So if you go to ogm.utah.gov, there is a board tab at the top, and then a rulemaking tab. From there, you can see current rulemaking and then bonding.
Okay, so as of last Friday, the world has access to these bonding rules. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry.
Along those lines on the stakeholders, can you generally, address who the stakeholders are? In general, I'm not looking for a comprehensive list. I guess, is it operator, the top stakeholders?
Most part is UPA, members of the UPA. We do have EDF, Environmental Defense Fund, that has been interested. There's a handful of their staff members who receive it. And then a couple of one-off. I've been saving emails to then copy when I distribute it. I can tell you specifics.
So wouldn't did you say all operators as well?
We haven't distributed it to all operators. We don't really have a comprehensive list for that. We do have it available online, so if they've been paying attention to the meetings at all, they still have access to it. If anyone wants a draft from me, I'm happy to send it out.
You put out like public notice and such. I mean, what's interesting is that it's who's most impacted are the operators.
Yeah,
okay.
And we completely understand that. I think that's why we kind of brought it to the board so that it would hopefully get greater views on it. Typically with the board or the rulemaking process, we have an informal rulemaking session, which is what we're in. That's usually a smaller group of stakeholders, but with the bonding one, we're opening that up to whoever is interested.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Do we have any other questions? Hang on just 1 second. Let's have you wait until we have public comment. Do we have anyone from the public who wants to make a comment? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Natasha. Good job. We're going to move on to the formal part of our meeting with docket number 1. This is docket number 2025-041, cause number 134-03. In the matter of the request for agency action of U.S.M Operating LLC for an emergency order authorizing the flaring of gas in excess of the amounts allowed under Utah Administrative Code 649-3-20 from the number 1 Arabian 44-4-18-17-7H well, the Walker 4-4-7-8-1H well, and the Shire 4-5-12-11-2H well, and the Clydesdale 4-5-13-14-8 well, located at a surface location in Lot 1, Section 18, 4 South, 4 West, U.S.M, Duchesne County. And Mr. Chicken, would you like to introduce your entourage here?
Unfortunately, these aren't working, so we're going to go with them.
This is plugged in.
Yep.
But should.
Stand by.
Okay. Working. Good. You want any more? Thank you. Brent Chicken, Steptoe and Johnson, PLLC. Man Operating LLC.
Very good.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair.
It's working.
We got mine. Okay.
Yeah, that one's working.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Carter, Assistant Attorney General Carter, the Utah Division of Oil, Gas, and Mining.
And do you want to,
Megan Crocker, the Utah Division of Oil, Gas, and Mining.
thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chicken.
So as the board is aware, in July of this year, the board approved an order in cause number 13403, with such order issuing in August of this year, authorizing the flaring of gas in excess of the amounts allowed under Utah Admin Code Rule 649-3-20 for the Arabian and Walker.
Excuse me, Vernal, Mr. Chicken, we're not picking up what you're saying through your mic. Oh my gosh. This is gonna be terrible. Mr. Chicken, I'm sorry, we're still not picking up your mic. We're back.
Let me have Carmen give us a countdown real quick. Go ahead, Carmen.
You're live in 1, go.
We're back on the record, and we're going to start off with Mr. Chicken's presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I was saying, the order number 13403 authorized flaring in excess of the amount set forth in the rules for the Arabian, Walker, Shire, and Clydesdale wells through September 24th, 2025, recognizing that WEM was also required in that order to meet with the division in the month of August 2025 and provide them with an update on the status of WEM's multiple gas infrastructure projects. In particular, there's two at this point that are major projects. One of them is a flare gas mining project very close to the site, right next to the site, in fact, where these 4 wells are located, as well as a longer-term gas infrastructure solution for the greater area around these wells. That is a compressor station just to the northeast of these wells. And we have a presentation today, some demonstrative exhibits. My witnesses today are Mr. Larry Williams, sitting to my right, the Vice President Land of WEM Operating, and remotely we have the Chief Operating Officer and Head Engineer at WEM Operating, Dustin Shrike, who could not be here today due to some other work commitments, but who has been authorized by the board to appear remotely. And so without further ado, I think we'd like to get into our update. And so I'd ask
Mr. Chicken,
Yes,
can I
ma'am.
have you wait until we get your other witnesses?
Yes, I
here.
think,
And I'm not seeing Dustin on the call yet.
let me text him. He should be on here.
Okay.
He just texted me this morning. He says he's sitting in the Teams lobby, FYI.
While you're checking on that, Mr. Walker has a disclosure.
As I've disclosed in the past, my wife is inheriting from her deceased mother a working interest, but not in the horse pad, but on one of the other wells that WEM has. So
Does anyone have an objection to full participation?
WEM does not have any objections to Mr. Walker participating.
Thank you.
As long as he shares the royalty with the board.
well, so far we've gotten 0.
So that's easy.
Mr. Trike advises he is still in the lobby of the Teams call that the division or the board staff created.
Stand by. Carmen, stand by. I'm going to jump out and jump in. I mean, do you see him waiting to be admitted to the meeting?
I do not see him waiting.
You want me to tell him to drop and log back in?
Yes, please.
I gotta say is thank God for text.
He's invited to the meeting, so he should just be able to log right in.
And I did confirm with him, there was a couple of updates to that meeting that came out after the original one. And I said, are you, did you accept all of those updates and you're in the most recent version of the meeting? And he said, yes. And if you think it helps, he's sitting at his,
There he is.
got you.
I do need to swear the witnesses in when you get that.
Apologies. Sorry, I was in the Teams meeting instead of the Google invite.
Okay, can you turn your camera on for us, Dustin?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chicken,
Yes,
are any
ma'am.
of your witnesses going to need to be sworn in?
Well, this is an update, but I'll leave that to the board's discretion. We're happy to swear both of them in on the front end. I think that's probably, I think it's probably a good idea to do
Yeah.
that and,
We'd like to
make a
have
good
them sworn
record.
in.
Once he's ready. There we go. Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the evidence you're about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'm going to move forward with our demonstrative exhibits here. So this is our Exhibit A, and this is an update on the flare mining gas status. And I'll ask Mr. Williams to please describe what's depicted on here and give him give the board an idea of where we are in terms of that flare gas mining project.
So this is a very recent picture of the Ross pad, which is the pad next to our goat pad that will house the flare gas mining facilities. You'll notice that the pad has been built. We have begun to deliver equipment there. The bad news is that we're not delivering gas to them yet. There's a regulatory reason for that. We're caught in the mire of public comment and compliance, finished compliance review, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But we have moved ahead to do as much as we can under the regulations. Under the current air quality regulations to be ready to deliver gas as soon as that permit can be issued. And so we do have an agreement with NYDIG to deliver gas. We deliver, I think it's 3.5 million a day. That will take care of all of our gas excesses that we currently have. And so this is our final little cog that we need to put to put our flaring to rest. Unfortunately, it has taken longer to get the air quality permit than we initially thought. And so I think we can go to the next slide.
And I just want to ask one question. When we
All
were
right.
here and when we were in front of the board in July, the picture on the right was our proposed Ross pad. And so what we see in the picture on the left is what has been accomplished between that picture and this one.
That's correct. Yes, yes. The pad is built. Since we've entered into the contract with NYDIG, they are in the process. They put a lot of their equipment on site. They can't construct yet. The facilities can't be constructed until after the air quality permit is issued. But the equipment is there, ready to be put together, hooked up as soon as that air quality permit is issued.
And this is just one last question for my own edification. In the lower, the left-hand side picture in the lower right-hand corner, that is part of the goat pad that we're seeing right there, correct?
I do believe that's part of the goat pad, yes.
Okay. So just so the board has an understanding of just really how close these are.
Yeah, give you an orientation is this is immediately adjacent to our goat pad.
Okay. Moving on to Exhibit B, this deals with the air quality permits that are necessary to send gas to and operate the flare gas mining facility.
I wanted to let the board know kind of the constraints that we're working against for this here to be able to utilize our gas in this flare gas mining process here. These are the current air quality permitting rules under 307-401. First of all, rule number 5, it lets you know that you can't construct until after a permit has been issued or an approved order. Rule 6 and 7 deal with timing. The timing is a 30-day completeness review, then a 90-day compliance review. Inside that 90-day compliance review, there's a 30-day public comment requirement. It does allow for extensions of that 90 days if everything's not quite done. So doing the 3 30-day periods that they can do, we could go all the way through December if they wanted to. We don't expect that to happen. We were expecting to have this permit issued before the 1st of September. Unfortunately, that has not occurred. We are in very regular contact on where they're at with that, and I'll talk about that in the next slide there. Once the compliance review is done, unless it doesn't meet the criteria, a permit is required. So the director doesn't have the option to not issue it if it complies with all of the rules. So it is a mandatory approval with them. So we do expect to have this momentarily. Unfortunately, it has taken the division longer to go through their compliance review in being able to issue this than what we originally were, what we understood it to be. So we are taking the extra time. We're on the 5-yard line with this. We're about to get over the line with it. In the meantime, we have been reducing our flaring almost on a daily basis as we're finding new little nooks and crannies to put those natural gas molecules in. So, and I'll give you kind of some numbers on that, or Dustin will, depending on how we work through this. Let's go to the next slide. Sure.
We'll move now to Exhibit C, which is the timeline for the flare gas mining pad.
So this is the current timeline. Notice of intent was submitted on June 10th for this project. I do want to note that this was our partner in this is NIDIG. It is NIDIG's permit. It is not U.S.M's permit. So if you were to go out and look on it, you need to look at the ROS pad for NIDIG in their system. So assuming that the director took a full 30 days, that was a July 10th, and then assuming that there's a 90-day period, that would have brought us all the way to October. Like I said before, we were under the impression that we would get that earlier and get that in early September. Yeah, that's not happened yet. The latest information that I have from the engineer who's handling this permit is that the compliance review came back. It had a couple of deficiencies that needed to be corrected in their process, not in the permit process itself. He sent that back to have those corrected. I have not heard that it has come back from their compliance team to be able to go to the director for the initial order. And so it's not yet in public comment. So we've got at least 30 days to be able to to get that permit issued. More likely that's going to be 45 to 60 days, just planning on that. And then once the permit is issued, there will be a short period of time where we do the actual construction, or NIDIG will actually do the construction, because we are ready to deliver gas to that facility as soon as they're ready to take it. So we look at this and say, we probably got 45 to 60 days before we can deliver gas here. This is our interim solution. When this facility is up and operational, it will take care of all of our flaring in the interim time here.
Okay, and so based on this timeline, we anticipate the date where it shows facility commissioning, that would be when it would be able to actually be taking gas.
Our goal is to have this by the end of October taking gas, and we will be done flaring at that time. However, the timeline is not ours. And so anticipating that that may take a little bit extra. Now I'm thinking that each week goes by, we're pushing into November now.
We'll move on to Exhibit D, which shows our Bridgeland 4 Lee and Goat pads. And if you want to, I don't know if you want Mr. Trike to handle this slide, Exhibit D, or if you would want to speak to it first.
I think I'll speak to it first, just because Dustin is somewhat remote. And then if you have actual questions that are more engineering questions, I'm going to let him answer those. But this is a depiction of the Bridgeland 4 pad production. You'll notice the red is oil. Our pink, I guess, is gas production, and the red is the flaring. Early on, you'll see that the red and the pink were equal. We were flaring everything off of that pad. As of today, we're flaring less than half of the production on that pad. So I think that's the reason we put this slide in here, was to show how we have been working to try and make sure that we're capturing all the gas that we absolutely can based on the infrastructure that's in the area as we work through this.
And so just to be clear, the kind of delta we look at here is the space between the pink line at the top, which is the wellhead gas being produced, versus how much of that is being flared. And so the further those lines get apart from each other, the less gas is being flared and the more gas is being captured over time.
That's right. And as soon as the Ross pad is completed and hooked up, that red line will go away.
Okay. And I believe this is our last, yes.
Yeah, that's our last.
Our final demonstrative exhibit for today is Exhibit E, which shows the status of the larger and more long-term project for gas capture in this whole area for the Bridgeland pads, the Horse Goat, and Lee and Cane pads.
Yeah, so this is our ultimate solution for the area when we will have complete infrastructure for our needs in this area. We are working aggressively. Our operations team is out there working on everything to get this done. We were hoping to have this done by the end of November. Unfortunately, as most construction projects are, the timeline keeps pushing to a little further away there. Our operations team has built our compression site. It is ready. Initial construction has begun on that site. We are waiting for equipment. Equipment seems to still be our, in this area here, that's our biggest obstacle. That equipment is not off-the-shelf equipment. It has to be designed, engineered, certified, and then built and delivered. Our vendors are doing a fabulous job trying to get everything here as quickly as possible, but we do anticipate this taking a little bit longer than we initially thought. We've got the holidays coming up here. We know that the contractors, although they say they're going to be there, it's going to be a little slower. So we actually are looking at sometime in January of being able to commission this ultimate solution. this does not have anything, this does not restrict our flaring capacity here. This is just our ultimate solution for our area. We have sized this and to be able to take what we believe our ultimate production will be in this area as we begin developing through the different wells that we have established in this area now.
And so, I mean, based on this, I think, is it fair to say that the Ross pad, once it's able to take gas, is going to resolve the Bridgeland 4 pad flaring issues with the 4 wells involved in this cause 13403, and the Zager and Brundage infrastructure is going to prevent the need for that flaring going forward for the area?
That's correct. So we've got, yeah, the immediate need is going to be taken care of through our flare gas mining operation. And our ultimate solution is the Williams tap that we're building right now.
And just to be clear, that Brundage tap is being constructed and completed primarily by Williams.
So the tap in and of itself is being built by Williams. We've already paid for that tap. They are in construction right now. We are constructing the compressor site that we have to compress that gas to get it into the Williams line. And so we're working through the compression. That's the compression side is probably the biggest obstacle that we have time-wise of when this ultimate solution will be done, only because of the equipment for the compressors.
I think that that completes our update, but obviously, Mr.
Let's see if Dustin.
Mr. Trike, did you want to add anything before we turn
want
it
to
over to the board and division for questions?
You may want to correct me.
No, you did a great job, Larry. Thank you. I think you covered everything.
All right.
So yeah, board and division questions. I don't have any further questions for either witness.
Board, do you have questions? Mr. Church?
So if I read the graph correctly, total wellhead gas is approximately 4 million cubic feet a day being produced.
Dustin, do you want to answer that question?
Yes, that is correct. The wellhead is around 4 million, and then we're flaring just under 2 million a day.
And as far as royalties go for that gas, is the flare gas having royalties paid on that also?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Oops. Okay, so just to help, you showed the Bridgeland, the production chart from Bridgeland pad, but we're talking about the goat wells. So can you help me connect those two?
These are actually the Bridgeland 4 pad wells. So on this map, we're looking
I'm sorry,
at
the
here-
horse pad.
Yeah, so the 4 wells we're dealing with today, the
Arabian, Walker,
right.
Shire, and Clydesdale.
those are on the Bridgeland 4 pad.
Okay.
So that's why this on this map shows that as having the little flare. The flare
Horse-
gas facility is right next to the goat pad, and that's why
Okay.
that was shown.
Okay. Was this previously called the horse pad, or am I?
No, we do have, we actually have like 3 horse pads that are coming up. 1 horse pad is in drilling and completion at this time. That pad has not yet, there's 4 wells in there, and I don't know if I could name all of them to paint.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Yeah. Anyway, there's 4 wells on that one, but it's not part of this order. And we expect that though the gas, when we actually begin production on that, we have plans for takeaway on that one. That will be completed before we begin.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
So just, it looks like from your graph, you are right around the 1800 MCF, or is that 1.8 million?
It's 1.8 million.
Okay. So you're here today not to request an extension, just to give us an update?
We would need an extension because the provisions of order 13403 expire today. And that was due to the fact that I think throughout this process, we just don't want to get too far ahead of each other or too far ahead of the board in terms of timing. And so we haven't really asked for flaring periods that have exceeded much more than 60 to 90 days intentionally, so that we can give the board an opportunity to have input. And yeah.
So how long an extension are you looking for?
So at present, the ask today for an extension, subject to further discussion and questions, would be to extend to the, extend the order as is to the December board hearing on 12/3, required meetings with the division in October and November 25, and recognizing that this is a safe date extension. We expect to have all of this flared gas captured by early November, pending problems with the permitting and the things we can't control, the 30-day notice periods and things like that in public comment. But we would obviously give notice to the board and the division immediately, as we have on other matters in the past, similar matters in the past, once we have finished capturing all of the gas from the Bridgeland 4 pad and the 4 wells that are subject to this order.
So as soon as you get your permit, you will have everything ready to turn on the tap? There won't be any?
There will be a construction period, but that's a very short period. Remember that the rule doesn't allow construction to begin until after the order has been issued.
And how long would you think that would take?
I think, and Dustin can probably correct me, but I think it'll be 1 to 2 weeks. And that's just final flange hookups.
My understanding is that everything we could do that didn't violate the rules for the permit has been done. We built, we've built the pad, the equipment that needs to be installed on the pad is sitting right next to it. The roads are all built. It's literally, we can't take that from the box and put it on the pad and hook it up until we have this permit.
So what happens on December 4th if DAQ is not finished up?
At that point, I think we have to come back and ask for, we'll give you an update on where the issue, if there's an issue that hasn't happened by December 4th, of course, we will notify the division way before that hearing. But I think we would have to come back and discuss that at the hearing at that time.
So everything is okay with what you've submitted. Your application is complete. Is that true?
That is true.
That you are waiting on the various assigned comment periods, et cetera, that are mandated and nothing of your own generation?
That is exactly correct.
Okay. Let me just ask you, who is NIDIG? Is that the crypto?
They are the company, the crypto company.
Okay.
It's their equipment. They will be operating there. We're just delivering gas to them.
And there are no hangups with them?
There are no hangups with them.
Okay.
And I think, Madam Chair, I put this one back up because it has question marks, and immediately question marks create questions, right? And that's really because, as they noted, it's NIDIG's permit. They are the ones who are directly interacting with the air quality folks. And so they provide us with information and trickles down to us, but the day-to-day updates and things go to NIDIG. They do not come to us. And if there is a problem, we don't learn about it firsthand. We learn about it through NIDIG.
Well, and actually I am in personal contact with the engineer running this.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I've been talking with him for the last 3 weeks, twice a week, just to find out where we're at and what's going on. And most of it is, I'm waiting for it to come out of compliance. The next time I'm waiting for it to come out of compliance. The last time it came out of compliance, but it had a deficiency. I sent it back to them to fix it. I'm waiting for that to come back. As soon as it comes back, it will go to the director for his initial approval, and then we'll go to public comment.
Mr. James, are you on the meeting? Do you have any questions?
I am on the meeting. And at this point, I do not have any questions. I appreciate the update.
Thank you. Board, do you have any other questions?
Betty, so are you drilling any other wells?
We have completed our 2025 drilling program. Are you sorry at any of those locations? No, we will not be flaring on either of those locations. We have two different pads. Both those pads, we're working on completing those, and we have line of sight, I guess I'd say. We have plans on where all of that natural gas will go.
So excess flaring is only applying to this pad and not to the other pads.
That is
Those
correct.
are okay and in compliance with state regulations and everything.
Yes,
So we're
all
only
of,
talking
all of
about
the,
this
all of our
one.
other production is captured.
Okay.
So the other wells that we produce in this area, as we did have an order for those other pads, the goat pad, and we had one for the Lee Collins pad. All of that gas is now in pipe. We were able to find home for all of that. For the wells that we have drilled but not yet completed, we're in the process of completing. We do have line of sight for all of that gas to have a home. We do not expect to come back here for another flaring exception.
Okay. I think the board is probably going to have to discuss this for a minute before we make a decision. Oh, I'm sorry. Need to go to the division.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Permission for Ms. Crocker to ask her questions directly.
Thank you.
When you say you have line of sight, does that mean, what time frame is that for those remaining wells? Does that mean the new year, at the end of the year?
The end of the year. We
End of the year.
expect, and Dustin may be able to give a better answer to this. We expect that those wells will be put online sometime in November.
Okay.
And we have a home for all of that gas at this time.
So you don't need the flare, the Ross pad at all for those wells?
The Ross pad may be used for some of it.
Okay.
But we expect that the Ross pad will be completed and accepting gas by the time those are ready to begin production.
Division, do you have any more questions?
I think that's it for right now.
Is that good
Thanks.
for you? Okay. Okay, board, any other thoughts here? Okay, final comments, Mr. Chicken?
Barring any other questions, the request for today, after our update, once again, is an extension of the existing 13403 hearing through the board's hearing on December 3rd. A requirement to meet with the division in October and November of 25 informally to provide updates. A requirement that we do all we can to capture as much gas as we can as soon as we can, as the current order exists. That's a requirement. And so if we find, as Mr. Williams stated, sometimes they find out that, oh, this person around the corner here can take this many MCF, and we're taking advantage of every one of those options that we can do. They don't come along all that often. But that is our request for today, and we respectfully request that be granted.
Division, do you have closing comments?
The division does not oppose this request in general, but would like to note that if the flaring continues without an extension, then fines are still available on the board's discretion.
Thank you. Okay, board. I think we should discuss this a minute, and I think it's probably easier if we step out and talk about this for just a minute. We'll be back with you as soon as we can.
Stand by.
One.
Good afternoon. We are back on the record. Let me just double check. Patrick James, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion on this matter? Sorry.
Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve an extension of the current request through December 3rd, December 2023. I'm sorry, 2025. WEM will meet with the Division of Oil, Gas, and Mining in October and November to review progress. Post December 3rd, Class 2 fines will be imposed.
Do I hear a second? Mr. Moon seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay. Nay.
So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 ayes.
Do you want to do a roll call for?
Yeah.
We can do a roll call.
I'm just, it just
No
makes it
problem.
easier for me to prepare
Yeah,
the order.
we usually do that.
So I don't screw
Yeah.
something up.
We'll start down here, Mr. Moon. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. James?
Nay. Nay.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Mr. Chicken, would you prepare the necessary paperwork?
Yeah, I will treat it the same, and it'll be a
Right.
supplemental order, just continuing it on, but it'll have the contents of this hearing in it for the board's review.
Thank you. I think that concludes this matter.
You.
And we will move on to our next matter here. We'll give you a minute to get set up. Sure. Please proceed, Mr. McDonald. Oh, sorry, we need to read this in first. Docket number 2025-043, cause number 470-20, in the matter of the amended request for agency action of Finley Resources, Inc. for an order establishing stand-up or vertical overlapping drilling units and drilling unit boundary well drilling units for the production of oil, gas, and associated hydrocarbons from portions of the Green River Wasatch formations in portions of Township 2 South, Range 1 West, and 1 and 2 East, U.S.M, and 6 South 19 East, SLM, all in Uintah County, Utah. Mr. McDonald.
Yes, Fred McDonald of counsel with Lear and Lear on behalf of petitioner Finley Resources, Inc.
Division.
Assistant Attorney General Carter Moore on behalf of the Division of Oil, Gas, and Mining.
Thank you. Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With me today, I have Mr. Scott Pitzer, the manager of the Land and Business Development of Finley, Mr. Justin Anderson, who's the lead geologist, and Mr. Colin Strawn, who's the reservoir engineer. I would ask that the vice chairman swear them in at this time.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the evidence you are about to present is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Members of the board, the resumes of all three witnesses were collectively submitted as part of Exhibit A in this cause. If asked, each would confirm the information contained in their resumes are true and correct. Mr. Pitzer will be a fact witness only. This will be Mr. Anderson's and Mr. Strawn's first time testifying in front of the board, so we will qualify them as experts in geology and petroleum engineering at the commencement of their testimony. I want to confirm that you received the substitute Exhibit K and Exhibits T through W last Friday. I believe the board entered an order accepting those. Thank you. And I apologize for this, but we want to make sure that the record is correct. Also, this morning, you received a package of some corrective and substitute exhibits and one new exhibit. As those exhibits come through, we will explain what the differences are from the original ones and the necessity of it. I would ask that the board grant leave to file those today for consideration in this hearing, and ask that the board rule on that.
Division, do you have any objections?
No objections from the division.
Thank you. Please proceed.
So it's accepted. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. And again, as usual practice, I will be moving for admission of the exhibits as a whole at the end of our presentation in chief. Members of the board, today, Finley seeks establishment of 7 overlapping stand-up drilling units for the development of long lateral horizontal wells producing from the Green River Wasatch formations, and 4 associated drilling unit boundary well drilling units for drilling unit boundary wells located along the internal boundaries of those within Township 2 South, Ranges 1 and 2 East in Uintah County. As you will know, that some of these are uniquely shaped, and that's due to the Uintah Special Meridian boundary that runs through the middle of these lands. The lands are currently subject to 2 board orders in 13124 and 13127, creating approximate 640 acre drilling units. Again, some are irregular due to the Uintah Basin or the Uintah Special Meridian. Both orders were subsequently modified to increase the well density to approximately 80 acres per DSU, pursuant to the 139-106 order. True and correct copies of all 3 of those orders were collectively submitted as Exhibit B in this matter. Finley seeks authorization to drill up to 24 long lateral horizontal wells on each of the 7 drilling units and up to 6 stacked drilling unit boundary wells on each of the 4 drilling unit boundary well drilling units. The same caveats that the board has imposed for other long lateral horizontal well drilling units and drilling unit boundary well drilling units, including 100-foot heel toe and 330-foot perpendicular setbacks, will apply, with one notable exception. Even though these will be overlapping drilling units, Finley is requesting that no interwell setbacks between the existing vertical and directionally drilled wells and newly drilled long lateral horizontal wells be authorized. As the testimony will show today, The owners of the correlative rights in those existing wells actually benefit from long lateral horizontal wells by number one, the uptick in production, and number two, the ultimate economic recovery of the resource. Furthermore, no interwell setbacks is the trend in the Permian and the Eagle Ford. Most importantly, you will know that there have been no objections expressed to this particular relief requested. And in fact, 3 parties owning working interests in the existing vertical wells have filed formal letters in support of the request. The board has jurisdiction over this matter pursuant to Utah Code annotated sections 40-6, 5-3, subparagraph 3B, and 40-6-6. Notice was sent via regular mail to all production interest owners in the requested drilling units, to all the working interest owners, including unleased owners in the established drilling units, or if on space, the quarter sections adjacent to the requested drilling units. That's due to the setback reductions. And also to the BIA and the BLM being the governmental entities having oil and gas jurisdiction over the lands. The mailings were sent to the parties at their last addresses disclosed by the relevant agency and Uintah County Realty records. The record will also reflect the notice was duly published in the Uintah Basin Standard and the Vernal Express on September 3rd and in the Salt Lake Tribune on September 7th. On September 10th, the division filed a response indicating its non-opposition to the granting of Finley's amended request, presuming Finley satisfies its burden of proof, especially with respect to the request to eliminate the setbacks from existing wells, which we will do today. In addition, the board has received 3 letters in support of granting the amended request from 3 working interest owners within the proposed drilling units, including the existing vertical wells. One is from Robert L. Bayless Producer LLC, another from Big West Oil, and the other one from Uintah Wax LLC. As previously noted, no other objections or responses are received, and no other party has made an appearance here today before the board. With that, I'll commence my examination. Mr. Pitzer. Mr. Pitzer, would you please state your name and business address for the record?
Yes, Scott Pitzer, P.O. Box 2200, Fort Worth, Texas 76113.
And what's your current position with Finley, and how does it relate to the drilling units at issue today?
Yeah, I'm the manager of land and business development, and so I supervise the land records, including the land records pertaining to these lands at issue.
All right, for the record, would you please state the corporate and bonding status of Finley?
Finley is a Texas corporation with its principal place of business in Fort Worth, Texas. It is duly qualified to conduct business in Utah and is fully bonded with all relevant federal and state of Utah agencies.
All right, Mr. Pitzer, I'm now going to show you what have been marked as exhibits C through I. They're all on the PowerPoint here. H1 is one of the exhibits, and then I. Do you recognize these exhibits?
Yes.
And were they prepared by you or Finley personnel with your review and input?
Yes.
All right, starting with exhibit C, would you please explain to the board what this shows?
Yes, this is a regional locator map showing the lands that we're spacing. You can see it's just east of Fort Duchesne, and Highway 40 runs kind of right through the middle of it.
All right, now turning your attention to exhibit D, would you please explain what this shows?
Yes, this is the plat reflecting the 7 requested stand-up long lateral horizontal wells, or horizontal well DSUs.
And those are, it also shows the existing wells in that area, is that right?
That's right. It shows the existing wells that are already there.
All right, now turning your attention to exhibit E, would you please explain what this shows?
This reflects the special long lateral horizontal well DSUs required because of the meridian boundary that goes right through it right there.
So these are larger than the normal?
Yes, these will be a little larger than your normal 1280s.
All right. Now turning your attention to exhibit F, would you please explain what this shows?
This shows the mineral ownership of these lands. And so as you can see, there's a little bit of tribal ownership, a little bit of federal ownership, and the rest of it is fee ownership.
And there's no state ownership within there?
Correct.
All right. Now getting a little more detail on exhibit G, please explain what this shows.
This shows the existing vertical and directionally drilled wells within the proposed DSUs. There's 41 vertical wells in there. Am I missing anything?
No, just, it's just a visual representation to show how they're going to relate to the horizontal wells. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now turning your attention to Exhibit H1 for the board's information, there was also an H2 and H3, but they're somewhat repetitive. So we're only going to move for admission of H1. Okay, Mr. Pitzer, again, would you please explain what Exhibit H1 shows?
Yes, it reflects the 4 requested drilling unit boundary well DSUs.
And so the wells would be on the internal boundaries of each of these. So starting with the upper one, that would be the boundary between sections 17, 18, 20, and 21, or 19, excuse me.
Correct.
And then the bottom one, there's 3 of them between sections 28, 30, 36, and 31.
Correct.
And then between 29, 30, 31, and 32.
Correct.
And finally, the boundary between 28 on 29, 32, and 33.
Correct.
All right, thank you. All right, now turning your attention to Exhibit I, would you please explain what this shows?
Yes, this just shows other spacings that are adjacent to or in the area of our spacing request. And, the main thing about these spacings are the same, the 100-foot heel toe setback and the 330-foot perpendicular setbacks.
And we'll get into the technical with the other witnesses' testimony as far as that justification. That's correct?
Correct.
All right. Now turning your attention finally to Exhibit J, would you please explain what that shows?
This shows the 2 outlines of who was notified of our spacing application. Within the red outlines, every single production interest owner was notified. And then within the brown outline, all working interest owners and unleased owners were notified.
And that's because of the setbacks asked for.
It's because of the reduction of setbacks.
Right, I may have misspoken when I said initially about recognizing the exhibits. I think I said through Exhibit I. You also prepared Exhibit J or had Finley personnel review it or prepare it with your review?
That's correct.
All right. I'm going to show you now what is the certificate of service and supplemental certificates of service. There's a number of people listed here. Are these the people that you just testified are within the areas shown on Exhibit J?
Yes.
And how are those names and addresses compiled?
Internal records and through brokers that we have out in the field who go through the courthouse records.
All right, Madam Chair, that concludes my examination, Mr. Pitzer.
Division.
No comments from the division.
Board, do you have any questions at this point? Mr. James, do you have any questions? Mr. James? Are you there?
Sorry.
Oh,
I had
no
to find my
problem.
mouse. No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, I'll commence my examination, Mr. Anderson.
Yep.
Mr. Anderson, please state your name and business address for the record.
Yeah, my name is Justin Anderson. My work address is P.O. Box 2200, Fort Worth, Texas 76113.
And what's your current position with Finley, and how does it relate to these drilling units at issue today?
I'm the lead geologist at Finley Resources. It is my job to pretty much provide my expertise on anything that has to do with the subsurface. And that includes our operated position in the Uintah Basin, as well as some other basins in Wyoming and Texas.
And that would include these drilling units, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Since this is your first time testifying from the board, would you please briefly outline some of your education, your work experience in the Uintah Basin or an analogous basin, and if you've been recognized as an expert in front of any other commissions?
Sure. So I received my Bachelor's of Science degree in geology in 2011 from the University of Tulsa, and my Master's of Science in geology from Texas Christian University in 2015. Between that time, I worked as a rig geologist doing coal exploration in the Bowen Basin of Australia. After getting my master's degree, I have worked with Pioneer Natural Resources from 2015 until 2024. During that time, we were a very busy operator, primarily in the Permian Basin. I've either operated or developed over a few hundred horizontal wells that would be directly analogous to these types of wells. And since joining Finley Resources in 2024, have continued to mainly as a geologist in Uintah and Wyoming, stayed in tune with horizontal wells drilling in those two basins.
Thank you. Presuming the division has no objection based on his resume and that testimony, I would ask that the board recognize Mr. Anderson as an expert in geology for purposes of this cause.
Division.
No opposition.
Board, please proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson, I'm now going to show you what had been marked as substitute exhibit K, substitute exhibit L, and exhibit M. Excuse me. Do you recognize these exhibits?
I do.
And they were prepared by you or Finley personnel with your review and input?
Yes.
All right. Starting with substitute exhibit K, would you please explain what this shows?
Sure. This is a type log that is representative of the lands that are to be spaced. That goes from the entire Green River through the Wasatch. This is a gamma ray log and resistivity log that you can see goes from all the way from the Mahogany and through the Wasatch and Flagstaff, all the way to the top of what's marked here as the North Horn top, which would be the top of the Mesa Verde or the base of the Wasatch.
All right. Now, for the board's information, the original substitute L was a cross-section that did not include the type log. The substitute exhibit L that we filed this morning does. Mr. Anderson, would you please explain on substitute exhibit L, what is its significance?
Sure. So this is a cross-section across the lands that goes from north to south, and it includes the second well in this cross-section is the type log that was referenced in the previous slide. The main things to note here are the uniformity of the reservoir across. There's very little thinning or thickening, and all of these formations are continuous across the unit.
All right, now turning to exhibit M, would you please explain what this shows and its significance to the request?
Sure. So there are two main things to get across with this slide. There are a lot of data points that are shown there with the arrows that are purple and blue. What those are different studies, either being microseismic or dipole sonic, which help us to indicate the primary stress direction within the area. The other thing I want to get across with this slide is the table that shows the half length measurements from the microseismic data that is collected in the area, which will be used in subsequent slides. So from the stress direction data that we have in the area, we're seeing an average of north 78 degree west in terms of the primary stress direction, and an average half length from our microseismic data of 252 feet.
And again, the significance of that is that you want to intersect the fracture orientation that's in perpendicular, and that justifies a stand-up orientation?
That's correct.
All right, so in your expert opinion, that the Green River Wasatch requested to be spaced as one common source of supply?
Yes.
Is it also your expert opinion that the uniformity of the Green River Wasatch members requested to be spaced throughout the area make long lateral horizontal wells attractive?
Yes.
And finally, is it your expert opinion that the fracture orientation supports a stand-up drilling unit orientation?
Yes.
All right, Madam Chair, with that concludes my examination. Mr. Anderson?
Thank you. Division.
No questions or comments from the division.
Board. Mr. Moon.
So explain the two colors. So one is image sonic and the other one is microseismic. Just explain those because there's pretty good difference between sometimes one's higher than the other, depending on the project, but just kind of explain.
Sure. So the purple being the microseismic, what that does is you actually just are monitoring the sound as you fracture your horizontals. And from that, you can actually get an orientation based on the positioning of where that sound comes from.
And
that's what is
and
shown
where's the
in
sound
purple.
measured from?
The sound is measured. It depends on how you set up the actual project itself, but generally it's from offsetting vertical wells at which you put the geophones downhole in.
Okay.
And then, so that's what's shown in purple. And then what's shown in blue is primarily dipole sonic, and that's just a logging tool in which you send two different sound signals that are perpendicular to one another, S waves, and basically how the difference in the time that those S waves arrive gives you an indication of what the stress direction is, if there is a primary stress direction. And so that's what's shown here, is that there is a primary stress direction, and it is more or less oriented in the sort of 78 degree, being the average of all the different points.
Okay. But, and the image sonic does measure length too, though?
No, it does not.
Oh,
no,
it doesn't?
The length comes directly from the microseismic data.
Okay. Because you have fracture half lengths. That first, the blue there does have footages.
Yes, that comes from so essentially we split the western purple grouping into one study area and the eastern into one study area. And that's where those distances come from.
Okay. And that's pretty much geology that determines that, or do you change, or is there a difference between how you fract these as far as the length?
That's a good question. My understanding is that there's not a significant direct difference in how those wells were fracked. It's primarily based on just how the formations and the geomechanics of the formations that were fracked.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Mr. James, do you have questions?
I do not.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, I'll commence my examination of Mr. Strawn. Mr. Strawn, would you please state your name and business address for the record?
Yes, Colin Strawn, excuse me, P.O. Box 2200, Fort Worth, Texas, 76113.
And your current position with Finley, and how does it relate to the drilling units at issue?
I'm a reservoir engineer for the Utah area, our Utah asset of Finley.
All right. Again, since this is your first time testifying in front of the board, would you briefly outline your work education, or your education, your work experience in the Uintah Basin or other analogous basins, and if you've been certified or recognized as an expert by any other boards?
Sure. Education. I have a degree, a Bachelor of Science degree in petroleum engineering from the University of Texas, 2007. Started working in early 2008 for another different operator in Fort Worth, but my career has spanned over just two operators, including Finley Resources. Engineering experience ranging from reservoir engineering to completions engineering to production and operations engineering in basins throughout Texas, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Alabama, but since late 2017, I've been just focused on Utah.
All right, Madam Chair, presuming the division has no objections, based on his resume and that testimony, I would ask that the board recognize Mr. Strawn as an expert in petroleum engineering for purposes of this cause.
Division.
The division has no opposition.
Board. Mr. James, do you have any objections to this witness?
I do not.
So accepted.
Thank you. Mr. Strawn, I'm going to show you what have been marked as exhibits N, T, P1, corrected P2, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, and there's also Exhibit X, which we'll get to in a minute. But these exhibits that are shown on the PowerPoint, do you recognize these exhibits, and were they prepared by you or Finley personnel with your review and input?
Yes, sir.
All right, starting with Exhibit N, would you please explain what this shows and its significance to today's hearing?
Yes, this is apologies for the misspelling on the title. Off to a good start there. Gun barrel plot, showing a typical setup of development with 24 long lateral horizontal wells. Exact measurements, exact layouts, exact offsets may change slightly, but this is how we see at this point. This is how we see development going in these proposed DSUs.
All right, now we're going to go a little bit out of alphabetical order. Then, looking at Exhibit E, would you please explain what this shows?
Yes, this just demonstrates the large number of horizontal wells that we're proposing to be drilling here. Keep in mind, this map is showing just one horizon. As I showed on the previous slide, we have 6 horizons, so it could be as many as 6 times this total amount of well bores in a completely developed, if the areas once it's completely developed. But this is just another way of showing also a topic we're going to get to a little bit later, that it could get tricky to drill around existing vertical and directional wells if we have to keep large setbacks around those with this large number of future horizontal wells.
All right, now turning your attention to Exhibit, what happened? We skipped over O, didn't we? Sorry about that. Apologize. Let me get to Exhibit O here. Oh, no, we could. What happened to that? I apologize. Exhibit O is not on my power. There it is.
No, that's P2.
All right. Well, I apologize. Let's go to Exhibit O. I apologize to the board. That's my fault. PowerPoint is not showing it. Exhibit O is a 2-page exhibit. Starting with Exhibit O, these deal with the drilling unit boundary wells. Hopefully you have a copy of them as well in your book. Just kind of explain what the difference is. Instead of having a 100-foot setback on each side of the center line, you're asking for a 330-foot. You can explain why.
Yeah, so this first, it says current layout. It really should say typical layout, I suppose, but this is a typical layout of 2 adjacent DSUs, and the main point of this one is to show these 2 dead zones with no drilling allowed. Typically, you have in a layout like this, you would have 100 feet to the east and to the west of the boundary line to stack your boundary unit wells. But in our case, if we're going to be doing 6 wells on top of each other, it gets into an anti-collision issue. And so that's the reason that we're requesting, as you can see on the next slide, O2, this modified layout, which would allow us to put those drilling unit boundary wells anywhere within the 330-foot setbacks.
So the main reason for the 330 is to give you some flexibility and to avoid anti-collision or for anti-collision provisions purposes, right? Correct?
Yes.
All right. Again, board, I apologize for that, not having that exhibit on the PowerPoint. I don't know what happened there. All right. Now let's turn to Exhibit P. Starting with Exhibit P1, please explain what this shows.
Yeah. So this uses some of the microseismic data that Justin showed on a previous slide to get our average of 78 degrees there and 252-foot fracture half lengths. So then with just some trigonometry, you end up with an X direction distance and a Y direction distance of 246 feet in the X and 51 feet in the Y. This slide, the graphic on the left, just focuses on the Y direction, the 51 feet. And the idea is just to show that 51 feet is obviously well within our 100-foot proposed heel toe setbacks.
All right. Again, we filed corrected Exhibit P2 this morning just to show the board the difference. The original P2 has, if you look on the left side of this slide, it shows 164 feet. This has been corrected on P2 to 84 feet. That's simply just a a mathematical error there, and that was corrected. Again, show what P2 then represents.
Yes, just like the previous slide focused on the distance in the Y direction, the north-south direction. This one just focuses on the east-west direction, showing that 246 feet is well within our 330-foot offset.
All right, now turning to Exhibit Q, would you please explain what this shows?
Yes, this is just on the following on the next slide. I'm going to be showing some calculations about drainage that use PVT data, and so this slide here just shows where that PVT data came from
In relation to the Lancet issue.
Right.
Right, okay. Now going to Exhibit R, please explain what this shows and its significance.
Yes, it gets a little messy over on the right, but calculations in this slide utilize Hale and Evers, which is methodology previously recognized by the board and division as appropriate. I want to focus your attention to the B sub F column, second from the right, I guess. And then the second to last row there, that just shows that 94.9, 95 feet after a period of 10 years, that's drainage in the Y direction, which shows after 10 years, we're still, it's just after 10 years that we start draining from beyond 100 feet. So it's a very long time.
And even after 10 years, it's fairly minimal drainage.
That's right.
Okay, and this is pretty much standard throughout this development area, like that was shown by the exhibit by Mr. Pitzer, right? Same basis?
Yes, sir. Yes.
For the 100-foot 330. Okay. Turning to Exhibit S, please explain what this shows.
Yeah, this is really an incremental economics look from a couple of different standpoints. It's really just going from a incremental reserves, incremental EUR gained by going from a 9,900 foot lateral to a 10,360 foot lateral. So the extra 460 feet of completed reservoir, we just extrapolate that out to, we estimate that gives us an extra 34,000 barrels of oil per well. And so we just did some calculations, some present value calculations to, in a royalty owner leased at 20%, that's just over $200,000 of present value per well again. And then the next few bullet points there is a look from the severance tax side. That $42,000 per well, that's also a present value. That's the actual tax dollars collected will be much more than that, but that's just a discounted present value to bring it into today's numbers. And so that $42,000 per well times, say, a 12 long lateral wells is half developed DSU would be just over $500,000. And so then a fully developed DSU would be just over $1 million of incremental PV to the state.
Okay, now let's focus on the request for no interwell setback. The next few exhibits in your testimony need to address that. So let's go to Exhibit U. This is a 3-page exhibit. Let's start with Exhibit U1, and what does this show?
Yeah, this is just going to be, I've got 3 examples here of vertical wells in the Uintah Basin that we either operate or have ownership in that have been hit by offset horizontal fracs and sustained really good production increases. This first one was just a flat 8 barrel a day well that was then hit by a frac, got up to 50 barrels a day, temporarily declined down and leveled off just under 20 barrels a day. I should also mention all 3 of these examples I'm going to show are vertical wells with 1,500 to 2,000 feet of gross interval. So we're talking about hundreds of perforations. Go on to the next one. This one is a little bit less pronounced, but still a pretty big deal to get a 7-barrel-a-day well up to 30 and then leveling off at 12. That extended the life of that well quite a bit.
And finally, U3.
Yeah, example 3 is, this was a 25-barrel-a-day well on a fairly steep decline that then was hit by a frac and got up to 45 or so barrels a day. And then the decline afterwards was actually even shallower than it was before.
And how close were these vertical wells to the horizontal wells?
These were just over 1/2 mile away. So the idea here is to show that the existing vertical wells throughout the basin are very understimulated. It's just hard to get a good frac, a good stimulation on a vertical well with all these stacked pays and different lithologies. And so the existing vertical wells tend to be very, very understimulated. And so a lot of times getting fracked into by an offset horizontal can greatly improve the life of the well.
Right now, turning your attention to Exhibit V.
Yeah, so what we did here is put just a summary together of all of the vertical wells that exist within these proposed DSUs. You can see the cumulative oil produced out of each area and then the remaining reserves that we have booked. Oh, we lost the screen there. There it is.
Somebody stepped on the plug.
Yeah.
You can see my note there on the left. The average vertical well in this area is currently producing 7.2 barrels of oil per day. Getting down into, kind of marginal territory or getting close to that. Another thing to notice here is if you add up all of the remaining reserves that we have booked throughout all of these proposed DSUs, it's just over 840,000 barrels. But to put that in perspective, that is less than 1% of our expected combined EURs for all of these DSUs once fully developed.
Right now, turning your attention to Exhibit W, please explain what this shows.
Yeah, this is just this shows an average. I showed you on the previous slide, an average producing vertical well was 7.2 barrels a day. Going ahead and rounding up to 8, we've got a present value of $101,000 for that well. It's assuming $65 per barrel. And using those same economic assumptions, one of these type curve long lateral horizontal wells that we're talking about has a PV of over $14 million. And so if that 8-barrel well is on 40 acres, just to proportionate that out, 40 divided by 1280 would give you a 3.125% working interest. And so that small sliver of one of these long lateral horizontal wells gives you a PV of $460,000. So over 4 times the amount of one average vertical well.
So the bottom line, the reason you're asking this is that there's actually benefit to the people having correlative rights in the vertical well by allowing you to drill these horizontal wells overall. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Finally, now I'm going to show you Exhibit X. Again, to the board, this was handed out today. Is this an official business record of Finley?
Yes.
Okay, and would you please explain its significance, what this involves, and how it also relates to your request for no interwell setback?
Yes, the way I understand it is it's an example of wells, a field that we have interest in, where it was approved by the Railroad Commission for no interwell setbacks. In a situation very similar to what we're dealing with here.
So let's just identify this. This is in Texas. This is in the Permian Basin,
Yes, sir.
and it's the Sprayberry field. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the board's attention should be drawn to rule number 2. If I'm correct here. This is where the no interwell allowance is. Is that correct?
Right.
Thank you. Did you see it? Yeah, Patty, did you hand them out for the division? I'm sorry. So what you're looking at here would be. All right, thank you. Is it then your expert opinion that up to 24 long lateral horizontal wells are needed to maximize resource recovery from each of the requested drilling units?
Yes.
Is it also your expert opinion that up to 6 drilling unit boundary wells are needed to recover resources that would otherwise be left in the ground?
Yes.
Is it your expert opinion that the 100-foot heel toe and 330-foot perpendicular setbacks will not adversely affect the correlative rights of adjacent parties?
Yes.
Is it also your expert opinion that the 330-foot buffer on each side of the drilling unit boundary are needed for the drilling unit boundary wells for anti-collision purposes?
Yes.
Is it your expert opinion that the elimination of interwell setbacks between existing wells and long lateral horizontal wells in general benefits rather than harms the correlative rights of the owners in those existing wells and is consistent with practices in other basins?
Yes.
Finally, is it your expert opinion that the requested relief will allow the greatest recovery of natural resources with associated greater economic benefit with no or minimal adverse impact on correlative rights?
Yes.
Madam Chair, that concludes my examination of Mr. Strawn.
Thank you. Division?
Yes, permission for the division experts to ask the questions directly.
Sounds good.
A couple questions on the wells that had some additional offset production. I assume those were frac protected, and when you removed the frac protect, that they came back a little bit more.
Some of them were just, well, frac protect. They didn't have a plug set over them or anything,
okay.
but they just had the polished rod laid down and the rod stacked out and just a ball valve installed on top of the tubing.
Are you going to frac protect all those wells that are at what point in the area of those wells do you frac protect them for that 100 for the no interwell setback?
Typically, it's the first layer or row of wells that are closest to your new horizontal, but probably anything within a half a mile.
Half a mile.
I don't know if you're the right person, but how many of the 40 wells are owned or operated by those 3 operators that submitted letters in agreement?
All of them are operated by us, and the other parties that submitted the letters are all working interest partners in all of them, or well, I think in all of them. It's a little scattered, but
Scott, do you know? Mr. Pitcher can answer that. Probably better.
Yeah, it varies, but the majority of the working interest in all of those wells is with those 3 operators.
Could I have you identify yourself?
Yeah, I'm Spencer Nish, petroleum engineer for the division.
Thank you.
No further questions from the division at this time.
Board, do you have questions? Mr. Moon?
Yeah, this is kind of a recurring question from me. First time for you though. So are 4 wells in each bench sufficient to drain most of the hydrocarbons? Where your fracture half length is around 250. You have some going further. I understand, you don't want to have frac hits between your horizontal wells. But is 4 wells, you're about 1,000 feet apart roughly. Is that the appropriate spacing?
we think so based on just other areas in the basin. What we've seen, you eventually do get some communication there, but it's different for each bench, as we all know. But this is a kind of a generalized rule. Yes, 4 per section.
Okay.
Or per
So with
per
the
mile
24, you could have some with 5 or 6 and maybe some with less. You'll just figure that out as you go.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then one more question on the uptick in production on your vertical wells. Do you have any cases where it does go down?
We've seen sand influx before. It's rare, but it has happened. Yeah, you just clean it out, but it hasn't ultimately adversely affected the wells.
But on average, they're going up.
On average, it's yes, somewhere in the positive direction. I obviously showed some good ones there. We don't know. The honest answer is we don't know exactly how each well is going to act, but we're kind of excited to find out. We're very optimistic for the vertical wells.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Church.
So there are no interwell setbacks at all. So when you steer these wells, you'll be avoiding the vertical wells, I assume. To what degree?
Yes, sir. Well, the rule of thumb would be no less than 50, but we do have, even though they are vertical wells, we do have directional surveys, inclination and azimuth on every one of these vertical or directional wells. And so I'm not a drilling engineer, but my understanding is that we would not attempt to get any closer than 50 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. James, do you have any questions for this witness?
I do not.
Thank you. Board, do you have any further questions? Okay, back to you, Mr. McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I would move for admission. I'm going to go very slowly here because of all the changes.
Thank you.
Okay, exhibits A through I, exhibit H1, substitute exhibits K and L, exhibits M through P1, corrected exhibit P2, and exhibits O through X inclusive. And also, to the extent that they're not already considered part of the record, the 3 letters in support.
So admitted.
Any objection?
Sorry,
No objection from the division.
I keep ignoring you over here.
I'm looking out for you.
Thank you. Keep me on track.
All right. With that, that concludes our presentation in chief, and I'd reserve time for any conclusory remarks or rebuttal of the divisions.
All right, division.
The division has no objection or opposition to this request as submitted, especially with the extra exhibits that we've gotten today and the support from the working interest owners.
Thank you. Board, do you have any further questions at this point? Oh, okay.
So do I understand you have surveys on all of the existing wells, the existing horizontal wells, I'm sorry, existing vertical wells out there?
Yes, sir.
And you're going to take anti-collision procedures on each of those?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, thank you, members of the board, for your attention today. Also, again, for your indulgence with all these corrective exhibits, but we've always felt that it's better to get the correct exhibits in instead of doing it subsequently. We appreciate your time. Again, the request, this is similar to what you've seen before. The oddball things here are that we've got you went a special meridian, so we've got different shaped drilling units. And again, this inner well setback, this is the first time you've heard that request. But I think you're hearing that the data shows it's consistent with what's happening in the Permian and the Eagle Ford, that these inner well setbacks actually are benefiting the vertical wells. So there's benefit to the correlative rights owners in that, so that even though they're overlapping drilling units, we're not having a negative impact. In fact, actually benefiting the owners in those vertical wells because they're getting better production. So with that, I would ask that the board approve the amended request as submitted. And again, thank you for your time, and thank to Matt and the IT people for making it available here online, and to the division staff for their consideration as well. Thank you. Good question, Julianne. Thanks for keeping me on track. Yes, Exhibit J as well. If we can move for admission of that.
Yes, admitted.
And that concludes it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, board. Do you have any questions? Do we need to recuse ourselves? I think we're ready. Can I have a motion, please?
So I would move that we approve this request for agency action.
And a second? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. James?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. It's unanimous. Mr. McDonald, would you prepare the order, please?
Certainly, and I'll make sure both division and board council have that before it's submitted to the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We had a third item on our agenda.
Just say the third item.
I'll read it in. Docket number 2025-045, cause number 600-10. The matter has been continued to our October 22nd board hearing. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn, but I'd like to talk to the board just a second.
Yeah, right. It's been moved and seconded. We are so adjourned. Yeah, there.